Welcome to the Intentional Father Podcast, where us fathers parent our children, not by accident, but with intent. I'm your host, Aaron Stroman. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Intentional Father Podcast. Season 2 is going to have this video component to it. If you're listening on your phone right now and you think, I would like to watch the video, all of Season 2 is going to have video moving forward. So we will have the video up on the YouTube podcast channel. Of course, we'll have the audio as well. And in Season 2, we are going to have some guest speakers, which I'm excited about. I already have a few lined up. If you know of someone who's just an outstanding father and has something to bring to the table for our community, please make an introduction. Love to meet them and get them on the show. Before I jump into the topic at hand, I just want to take a minute to pause and remind you, fathers, who you are matters. Your relationship in the family, your relationship to your children, your relationship to your wife. You are a game changer, a life changer. So don't underestimate how important you are. You are a huge factor in the life of your children. And that's what we're all about, being intentional with our fatherhood. So let's jump into it. I was talking to my daughter and I said, hey, what are some of the worst things that I've done as a father? Like some of the biggest mistakes I've made. If, things were, if you could say, yeah, if you could go back in time, I'd change this, change that. We're having that conversation. And then I flipped it on her and I said, what are some of the best things I've done as a dad? And it was really interesting because she started listing her favorite moments with me. And as she listed those, she may have just blurted out 8, maybe 6 of those 8 all had to do with our daddy-daughter dates. And so I want to be talking about being intentional with the time you spend with your children, specifically guys' nights and daddy-daughter dates. The whole premise is, I believe you should be spending on a regular basis one-on-one time with your children. If you have an only child, this is really easy. I have some friends, some of my best friends have 4 or 5 kids. It becomes a little more difficult for them, but the intentionality behind it, I promise, will pay off. My friend Mike Kola, when he was talking about how to build relationships with your children, he said, this is how kids spell love, Time. And he was talking about the time. As long as you're spending time with your kids, that's what they want. They don't necessarily really feel loved if you have money, if you're buying them stuff, if you're spoiling them. They want time with their parents, especially their father. So put this practice in. If you have a son, one-on-one time. I call it guys' nights. Cage, we're going out for a guys' night. If you have a daughter, I call them daddy-daughter dates. Let's break these down and talk about them. First of all, guys' nights. When I go out with my son, it's good just one-on-one time. We could be doing anything. But when I'm intentional about it, I think, what am I going to talk about? I have an intentional conversation. What are the big questions I want to ask? Or it could only be one too. What's the one topic I want to have a conversation with my son about? As long as you think about that and give it some intentionality, you're good to go. So whether you're going to the shooting range, going watching a movie, my son, he loves antique stores. So he likes to go antique stores and the thrift stores. That's the other ones he likes. And we'll just kind of shop around, window shop, whatever. But if we're having intentional conversation, that goes really long with the character development of your child. And with that, talk about those character moments. Put yourself in different situations that you observe, that you see, maybe that are on the political realm or in the news. Have conversations, but spending time with your child one-on-one I'm amazed at how many dads don't do that. Of course, if you're married, you need to spend time with your wife one-on-one on a regular basis, but then with your children too. Now, I only have 2 kids, so my goal is to do this once a month. So that's pretty easy for me. So again, some of my friends who are married, who have a wife and 5 kids, well, there's 6 people. If he's getting a weekly date night with his wife, man, he may work in one child another night of the week. It may take 6 weeks to go through each child. If you factor in a couple untraditional weeks, things come up, hurdles to get over. You may be at every 2 months connecting with your kids one-on-one. That's why we have to be intentional about it and at least aim for that rhythm to get time in with your kids. Now, for dads who have daughters, you are blessed by the Lord. Man, that daddy-daughter relationship is very, very special. Many of the parenting experts will say that the daddy-daughter relationship is super important. Conversely, the mommy-son relationship, very important. So dad, your relationship with your daughter is extremely important, so be very intentional. I call them daddy-daughter dates when we go out for a couple reasons. One, I want to model for my daughter how she should be treated on a date. We're probably all overprotective a little bit as dads. And so what does it look like for my daughter to go on a date? I'm setting the standard high, right? I'm modeling chivalry, teaching her how to let a man open the door for her, how to let a man pay, how to treat her like a lady. And it creates special moments. Again, you bring the intentional conversation to the table, and it's a lot of fun. And man, when I was talking to my daughter about some of the best times that we've had together, or the best moments I've shined as a father, she, again, 6 out of the 8, she was mentioning times when we have gone out and done some fun things, just the 2 of us. She loves a Cheesecake Factory. I let her pick where we eat most of the time. She would pick Cheesecake Factory every time. My budget doesn't always allow that, so I'm like, hey, sometimes let's scale it back. But she likes to go out to a nice place to eat, and I enjoy that too. So we do that together. It's a lot of fun. It's very meaningful, and it gets us one-on-one together. Maybe 6 months ago, the conversation at hand was I wanted to talk to her about abortion. Hey, what do you think about abortion? What's your perspective on it? And it was really interesting. She had some liberal viewpoints. She had some conservative viewpoints. I played devil's advocate and threw the other side at her and just really got her thinking and talking about it. She observed some things. She was enlightened on some perspectives that she hadn't thought of before, from a spiritual aspect, from an economical aspect, even from a, I don't know if you call it judicial crime aspect. It was a great conversation, and it probably wouldn't have been that well had I tried to have that conversation in a group of people, but one-on-one, we had a wonderful conversation about it. Those daddy-daughter dates provide the environment where you can connect on a very special level. So that's my encouragement for you guys today. Spend one-on-one time with your children intentionally. And you know what? Sometimes you may have to, you got to run to the store, do a project, you take a child with you. Don't do that every time, but if that may suffice sometimes. But man, going out, being intentional, doing something fun, doing something meaningful with your child one-on-one it's going to go so far, I promise you. So get that one-on-one time in with your children and be intentional with your fatherhood. God bless. We'll talk to you next episode.